What's going on, everybody? Well, this is kind of I say kind of, this is an emergency broadcast I'm doing tonight. This is absolutely crazy what we're witnessing happen in our country. And what I'm specifically talking about or referencing is an attempted assassination on President, or some people might call him former President Donald J. Trump. This is incredible. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment. Please share your comments. I want to know what you think about this. Comment, like, share, and hit the set your notifications. I'm sorry, I'm just getting my mind wrapped around. Been watching this for hours now, but just get my mind wrapped around in the change in temperature of the country, because things have really changed even more so. So let's go ahead and get into this.
We've got Pennsylvania Senate candidate David McCormick. He knows what it's like to be in the middle of a heated campaign. But David, I understand you were there. What more can you tell us from your vantage point? And do you know if anybody else was potentially injured?
Yes. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm still at the rally. It's all very chaotic. But I was in the front row, and President Trump had just announced me and had suggested I come up and invited me to come up on the stage, and then he said no, he'll have him come up in a minute or two. And then there were a number of shots, and the crowd just sort of, went to the ground, and the Secret Service came and very quickly tackled the president. But there were 7 or 8 shots, and it was hard to tell whether they came from one direction or from 2 different weapons. It wasn't clear. At least I couldn't tell. And then sadly, someone behind me up in the bleachers was definitely wounded. And there was a lot of blood, and the police came in and helped carry that person out of the stand so they could get the care they needed. I'm not sure if others were injured or not. It was all, as you might imagine, very chaotic. But it was a very scary moment, obviously, because our president and innocent bystanders were under siege.
Yeah, sir, can you tell us how many people had gathered there today? It looked like quite the turnout. And also, can you just take us through what you saw from your perspective? Did it come from your left side or your right side, or where was it in relation to where you were located?
Yeah, I don't, it was an enormous crowd. What I had asked a number of law enforcement officers, and they had said something.
Really quick, as y'all noticed there, President Trump suffered a hit, a graze across his face, and the bullet hits, goes inside his face, or the speed of the bullet, or maybe it's the speed of the bullet that passed, grazed by his face so quick, and then hit his ear on the way out or on the way elsewhere. Then there's also some other footage. I don't know if I'll be able to share it here. Well, I'm not going to share it tonight, but there's also an image I saw on Twitter that President Trump wears a bulletproof vest underneath his clothing, which makes perfect sense. And he got hit there as well. So I just found that out probably about 20 minutes ago. So Trump was actually hit twice. I'm getting ready to show you a video after this. I'm getting ready to show you a video where Tucker Carlson was talking about this nearly a year ago, where he thought that the escalation that was coming with all of when the Democrats went from just accusing Trump to impeaching Trump to indicting Trump. What's the next level? And everything kept washing off his back like water off a duck's back. What was the next step, or what is possibly or would be possibly the next step? Tucker Carlson was discussing it. Now, he's not the only one. I know some people personally who saw that as a potential outcome as well. So, but this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible, y'all.
I think around 15,000. So I don't know if that's an official number, but it was certainly huge, and it just kept coming and coming. It was building throughout the day. It's hard to tell, but at least some of the shots, I was sitting to President Trump's right as he was facing the crowd, and I was in the front row. It felt like some of the shots came from his.
And again, real quick, for those who don't know, what we're seeing here is that President Trump was in a rally today, Saturday, July 13th, doing a rally in Pennsylvania. And within a few minutes of him coming out on stage and beginning to talk to the audience, this is when this shooting begins to take place. Of course, I will tell you this, that the shooter has been killed, but unfortunately, also a couple of attendees lost their lives as well. So please be in prayers for the families, those who attended this event, the Trump family, and for our country. That's what really the biggest thing I'm urging us to do. The most important thing. That's not the only thing, but the most important thing is to pray.
The left side, which would make sense because someone behind me was hit. So it felt like at least some came from that side of the crowd. And as I said, I couldn't tell whether it was one gun or two, but there were 7 or 8 shots, just one right after another.
Well, and Dave, I mean, you're an Iraq War vet. You have served us in uniform voluntarily, like these law enforcement folks out there today. So it is unmistakable to you that these were gunshots. This was a firearm.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to be the case. I'm no expert on this, but it sounded like a small caliber weapon of some sort. Initially, I thought it might be fireworks or something, but then the succession of the shot, I think it was clearly a weapon, a firearm, and as I said, I couldn't tell whether it was one or two, but clearly this was, from my vantage point as someone who was there, it seemed very much an attack directed at the president, and a very scary moment.
Sir, can you tell us again about the person you saw who was injured or wounded? Again, man or woman, and what sort of condition did you notice they were in?
It was hard. It was hard to tell. A number of people sitting around this person. It looked like a man. It was a large person. A number of people sitting around it started to administer first aid, and it looked like he had shirts wrapped around him to try to stem the bleeding. And then some police officers came in and carried him out of the stands, and all of that took a couple minutes. So I was sort of focused on that because it was to my back. Whether there were other people wounded or not, I couldn't tell. Of course, it was an enormous crowd, and the way it was set up, the president was on a podium, but there was a crowd behind him, and he was 360 around him. So once the shots happened, it became it wasn't panic. People didn't panic, but it was very chaotic, and everybody went down to the ground. Everybody was laying on the ground because we weren't sure the shooting was done.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Choose to answer it the way you like. Is Donald Trump lucky to be alive right now?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, again, the facts will come out, and I always am careful when you're in the middle of a crisis. You don't want to draw too many conclusions, but it felt to me like he's very lucky to be alive, and I hope others who were injured are going to survive this. It was a very scary moment.
Sir, thank you for your time. David McCormick is a Republican. He's running for the Senate seat in Pennsylvania, and he was there.
This is insane, y'all. This is absolutely insane. And I know some people choose to use the word luck. I'm going to choose to use the word blessed, because President Trump was less than an inch away from being on the other side. And the story that we're telling right now could be completely different, which I believe there are some factions, there's some groups, there's some people on both sides of the aisle, if not on all sides, who wanted the outcome to be much worse. I'm sure somebody would have been celebrating. I'm sure parties behind closed doors, for most anyway, from key players, there will be a great celebration on their behalf, because now they can just shoo their way into the presidency of the United States and continue with their destruction, their plan to destroy America as we know it. This is insane. Let's go and go to the next video. Biden responds Biden responds to President Trump to the situation, and so we're going to go and listen to what he has to say, and then I'm going to bring you that Tucker video. Okay, so don't go away. If you just tuned in, go ahead and tell your family member, tell your friend, listen, check this out. We are talking about the attempted assassination that just occurred on July 13th, 2024 at a rally in Pennsylvania.
Thanks for coming, folks. I've been thoroughly briefed by all the agencies of the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. He's doing well. I plan on talking to him shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have engaged in making sure that we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it. Everybody.
I will say this real quick though. There it has been political violence going on for quite a while, and there's not been much, if any pushback from the Biden administration against it. I'm talking about when you talk about immigration, or when you talk about abortion, or when you talk about gun laws, guns that's flying around killing everybody. It's not bad people or evil people with guns. It's guns. It's guns flying around killing everybody. Well, I wonder if they're gonna still feel that same way here, even though I'm completely for the Second Amendment. So I don't want to hear all this is hogwash type stuff. And on top of it, Biden himself did say something to the effect, and I'm not quoting him accurately in this, or I'm not trying to misquote him either. He said something to the effect about Trump being in the bullseye, or bullseye on Trump, something to that effect. Maybe over the past week or so, he mentioned that. So y'all can look it up on YouTube. I'm sure you can find that video.
Keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. So far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that they're thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think this was an assassination attempt?
I don't know enough to. I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried about the with the security failing, Mr. President?
Well, there's a lot of things. We always need the facts, and even then, when the facts is really shown, when the facts are laid out, doesn't seem to hold any weight, or does not seem to be given the credibility it deserves at times. More importantly than facts, though, I'm looking for truth. And so the truth of the matter is, according to how things look, and of course, a couple hours or 3-4 hours later, you can see this was an assassination attempt. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Tucker video where he talked about this. And then I'm going to give a couple of reactions too. You had a news organization called The Hill. It's a couple of reporters or journalists on here who actually comments. Now, this Tucker mentioned this, or he was on Adam Carolla's podcast being interviewed. And Adam is a comedian and a podcaster. And I believe he's still based out in California. And so he was on Tucker. He brought Tucker on the show and asked him some questions. But this particular one had to do with Trump. And it's very interesting what Tucker says. But it's also very interesting. 10 months ago, according to the video's timestamp, 10 months ago, there's two critiques that you're going to get. One's from a podcaster named David Pacman from David the Pacman Show, and the other is from The Hill. So let's check this out. And I wonder, well, I'll save my comment for last.
Fox News host Tucker Carlson again suggesting that he expects Donald Trump to be assassinated. Let's watch.
Are they going to let Trump be president?
Now, of course, I mean, look, if, they protested him, they called him names. He won anyway. They impeached him twice on ridiculous pretenses. They fabricated a lot about what happened on January 6th in order to impeach him again. It didn't work. He came back. Then they indicted him. It didn't work. He became more popular. Then they indicted him 3 more times. And every single time his popularity rose. So if you begin with criticism, then you go to protest, then you go to impeachment, now you go to indictment, and none of them work, what's next? I mean, graph it out, man. We're speeding toward assassination, obviously, and no one will say that, but I don't know how you can reach that conclusion. You know what I mean? Like, they have decided, permanent Washington, both parties have decided that there's something about Trump that's so threatening to them, they just can't have him.
Okay, this is bonkers. I flagged this immediately after Donald Trump and Tucker Carlson did that sit down, that counter programming to the GOP debate. And the first exchange of questions that went on for an uncomfortable.
Remember what she said. She flagged this. This was 10 months ago, again, according to the video timestamp. So the question is, will they come back and will she recant her statements and will she flag that as well?
Comfortably long period of time was a series of questions about Jeffrey Epstein, which Tucker Carlson said he was asking. Do you believe that he killed himself? He says, I'm asking these questions, Donald Trump, because I think that he was killed because of his politics, because of what he could reveal about all these important people in the world. And I think that you might also have a target on your back. I think we have a bit of that clip. Let's watch it.
Do you think it's possible that Epstein was killed?
Oh, sure, it's possible. I mean, I don't really believe. I think he probably committed suicide. He had a life with, beautiful homes and beautiful everything. And he, all of a sudden, he's incarcerated and not doing very well. I would say that he did, but there are those people, there are many people, I think you're one of them, right? But a lot of people think that he was killed. He knew a lot on a lot of people.
He was killed. I think the closer you look, I'm not a conspiracy person at all. I believe everything I hear. But yeah, the closer you look into it, I mean, the Attorney General of the United States, your Attorney General clearly lied about the Epstein death.
Yeah, he was.
Why?
He was, certainly it wasn't well done. They had no cameras. They had no anything. Everybody was sleeping. And, a case could be made. Look, I'm not going to get involved in it, but I can tell you a case could be made either way, but it certainly wasn't the most well-run place.
So the reason I'm asking you is I'm looking at the trajectory since 2015 when you got into politics, for real.
Now, I don't know about you, but for those of you who are familiar with Jeffrey Epstein, who's known for being a human trafficker amongst his other ventures, he was found dead in his jail, found dead, committed suicide by hanging himself in his own jail cell, which I personally disagree with. But I'm with Tucker on that. And also, it was convenient that the officers that night who was on guard went to sleep, and also that the cameras happened not to be on the cell at that time. So him being a high-profile prisoner, questionable. So anyway, let's continue.
And then it started with protests against you, massive protests,
Right.
organized protests by the left, and then it moved to impeachment twice,
Right.
and now indictment. I mean, the next stage is violence. Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you, honestly?
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick.
Okay, so why wouldn't they try to kill you? Why wouldn't somebody try to kill you? A bunch of questions about why wouldn't someone try to kill you? And now doubling down on this line of inquiry with his other host saying, I think they're going to kill him. I think I'm going to kill him. This feels like, look, I'm no big fan of Donald Trump, but this makes me uncomfortable. This feels like kind of, dare I say it, stochastic terrorism. But Tucker Carlson is bringing up, trying to incept into everybody's minds the idea of assassinating Donald Trump.
I think he's suggesting, and you can agree or disagree with this, that Donald Trump obviously melted the brains of a lot of people to thinking that he's the great Satan, and there has been an escalation in, obviously you're well within your rights to protest him. You're well within your rights to think that the conduct he engaged in is worthy of impeachment or indictment, conviction, etc. But it is an unprecedented level of opposition to this man and his rule. And Tucker suggesting what more do you escalate to? Now, I don't actually think there are plots to kill Donald Trump, and it is reckless to suggest otherwise.
It is reckless to suggest.
It's not reckless to point out obvious facts or obvious, well, people say facts, obvious truths. If you just look down in history, once again, Tucker laid out his reasons for believing what the things that he said. Most people want to call themselves rationalizing themselves out of thinking within the conspiratorial waters. Listen, conspiracy theories are only that until they become truthful conspiracies. The CIA coined the phrase conspiracy theories, if you want to look it up, back in the 1960s. Why? They wanted to keep people from looking here. Look over here, look over there, but don't look over here. And don't believe them. Believe us. So then they, anyway, long story short, right now, it doesn't hurt to ask these questions. But again, hindsight for many people, for most of us, I've had moments like that too. Hindsight is 20/20. So I want to know what these same pundits will say today. I'm gonna see if I can look them up, or if I come across their platforms again, I'm gonna definitely see if they have recanted their statements there and how they've addressed the current situation that we're dealing with today.
It is reckless to suggest. Last time we brought this up on the show, I pointed out that the liberal media went crazy when Hillary Clinton suggested that Barack Obama might be assassinated, and that's why she didn't want to drop out of the 2008 primary prematurely. Because folks understood that there is a way that you can kind of encourage behavior by talking. That's what stochastic terrorism
Tucker is encouraging people to assassinate.
Exactly. I'm gonna let the young man finish. The other her co-host finishes, but just because you don't say something doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. Now, again, I'm not saying go around saying negative things, because I'm sure most of us have heard of these motivational principles where if you say something over and over and over, it's going to happen. There's some things that are going to happen whether you say it or not. Some things need to be said, need to be pointed out. The Bible says warning comes before destruction, right? So if I don't pay attention to any warning signs, does that mean that the destruction is not going? Does that mean that all of a sudden the destruction is going to have an about face and say, "No, I can't mess with Darius because hey, he's not paying any attention, he's not confessing it or whatever"? No, you have to pay attention to the warning signs. You have to address those issues. Yes, you should protect yourself against negativity, but that doesn't mean you walk around and live in a glass jar, a glass bottle, acting like there aren't nefarious. What I'm trying to say, nefarious things coming out against you. If there's somebody who wants to do you harm, or there are unwarranted circumstances that happen to good people, as well as good things happening to bad people. You have to address these issues head on.
Donald Trump.
No, but I don't think that Hillary Clinton was literally encouraging people to assassinate Barack Obama either. But it was the understanding of the public was, why would you even manifest? Why would you even say out loud? Why would you put in people's minds the idea of assassinating someone who, in Barack Obama's case, who was already being targeted because of the historical nature of his candidacy from a racial perspective, and Donald Trump because, as Tucker points out, he has crossed so many lines in the establishment and hates him for all of these other kinds of reasons. So I don't know. I felt
Also,
like he seemed uncomfortable.
Also, the assassinate Trump, again, this would be coming from the Democrats are the ones trying to take out Trump. Democrats are not like vigilantes right now in our current political understanding. The Democrats are the ones who want to follow rules and experts and establishment and mainstream
So they say.
to the end of time.
So they say.
They're not going to assassinate Donald Trump. They're going to subject him to bureaucratic processes until it drags him into the ocean.
Didn't work.
Is their modus operandi. It's not like
it has not worked. So what is the next stage? Therefore, there have been other attempts on Donald Trump's life. Most people just have not heard of it in the public square. There have been other attempts on his life.
The like vigilante's going to come and take him out is like a right-wing fantasy of how right-wing people take
But
care
he
of
is a
things these
right-wing
days.
person. And
Well, but he's not suggesting right-wing
articulating
people are going to take out.
I disagree. So we both know that out of the Dominion lawsuit disclosures rather, we know that Tucker Carlson said he, quote, hates Trump passionately. I hate him passionately.
I mean, he said
And
that.
so-
I remember that.
In that moment. I don't know if that's a.
How many people did you once hate passionately that now you're?
So you saying people can't have a change of heart? So someone who once was evil cannot become good, and someone who's once good cannot become evil. Can today I not like apple pie, and tomorrow I do? Can I hate broccoli today and have a change of heart 10 days from now? Sure. People can change, but when it doesn't seem to fit your narrative or your perception, then it doesn't make sense to you. And so now you're trying to break all of this down to make it make sense for you. If you don't want to accept the truth, just say it.
Besties with Robbie.
I mean, I've certainly expressed unkind sentiments about people in the heat of the moment after a particularly rough day where I don't.
There is exactly one person I can think of that I've used that sort of language with, who I now like a great deal, and that is a political commentator, one of Hillary men, Peter Dow, who was one of the worst people against the left back in 2016, but subsequently realized his politics were not where it was at, changed his mind, and has been a strident advocate of Bernie Sanders in 2020.
Changed his mind.
I can't think of anybody else. And because he substantively changed, I now have all this warmth and affection for him. Generally speaking, that email was not that old, first of all. And there's nothing to evidence that he has changed his
I think he was very well. He was supportive or warm toward Trump or a lot of Trump policies before. I think he was.
Okay, y'all pretty much got the gist of that conversation. They go into something else, but the point I want to make, you just saw it for yourself. This is again 10 months ago. Tucker makes this comment. It sounds outlandish to some people's mindsets. Some people think it was created. You created the atmosphere for it. No, it existed there. What you're looking at is it's a strategy. You're trying to game things out to say, okay, what's the next step for said policy or said person or organization? If you're in sports world, for the said team, you're trying to counter each other. Okay, if you see them a certain team calling certain plays and you're looking for patterns, all Tucker did was he discovered what their pattern was, and he said, okay, this step led to this step, led to this step, led to this step. So what's that next possible or logical step? All right, let's go to our last video. I'm almost done, y'all. Appreciate y'all hanging with me. So this guy here, David Pakman, had already done his, played the clip of Tucker. If y'all, I'm not going to play it again. I'm going to let you hear his take on it. And we'll go from there.
Let's talk about the assassination piece in a little more detail. First and foremost, Tucker knows that it is not likely that Donald Trump is going to be assassinated. He has Secret Service.
Now, don't you love it when people presume to know exactly what's in your mind for sure? Tucker knows. Listen how presumptive that is. He knows. Why don't you just ask the guy to come on to your show and you ask him what he thinks or what he knows? At the very least, you could say, I wonder if Tucker is basing his theory on this, and that. No, Tucker knows.
Protection for life. He's extraordinarily well protected. They don't even let anybody go near Trump holding a glass bottle. There's a video of some guy having a glass bottle taken from him by Secret Service before he was even allowed to go and shake Trump's hand or say hello or whatever. But that's not the most interesting part of this. The most interesting part of this is, why even float this? What's interesting about a possible assassination? Oh, well, maybe it's stochastic terrorism. Tucker has the idea, if I mention someone's going to assassinate Trump, then someone in my audience will try. That's too concrete. There's another bigger story here. Tucker Carlson might intelligently realize Trump is more useful as a martyr to the cause. What Tucker remember when Tucker said
Basically, he is saying Tucker is being instrumental psychologically and strategically creating the conditions for someone to go and commit murder so that Trump could become this great national treasure of a martyr and galvanize his supporters and whatever. That's very presumptive of him to assume that. He should just have Tucker on and ask the guy what he thinks. Now, if he sits here and says, well, I think Tucker's doing this, I believe he's doing that, it's more tolerable, more bearable to hear him say something like that, but he's talking as if it's a matter of fact, as if he's really in the guy's head. He knows exactly what he's going to do or what he's doing and why he's doing it.
he despises Trump vehemently or something like that. And then, of course, I guess somehow they made up, but that was leaked that Tucker despises Trump significantly, vehemently, something along those lines. Understand that Trump as president is less useful to the fascistic, authoritarian populist types like Tucker than a dead Trump. This is not about Tucker's trying to kill Trump personally. This is about, is he more useful as a martyr? And if you look throughout history, there are many martyrs that have served as symbols of resistance, icons of movements, and they were more useful dead than alive to those who cynically sought to exploit them. Because when a figure becomes a martyr, their legacy will often become larger than life. They are free.
I don't disagree with him on that part.
As Trump is very much subjected to right now, the day-to-day criticisms. Oh, he wrote on a thing with a Sharpie. It's ridiculous. He mimicked a disabled reporter. He's got this indictment, that indictment. He's accused of these crimes and those crimes. Okay. Once you become a martyr, you're free from all of that scrutiny. You faced it when alive, and now you become almost mythologized. And being mythologized in that way can rally and galvanize supporters, and it can become an opportunity for Tucker and all of the other right-wingers who think Trump is a doofus, and I assume that Tucker thinks that because he said it to some degree, and also because
I'm glad you said you assume it.
A little too smart to think anything other than that about Trump.
So he just basically said anyone who thinks that Trump thinks well of Trump is stupid.
People can then choose Trump's replacement or at least weigh in on Trump's replacement. So I am not making the conspiratorial allegation that Tucker is trying to get someone in his audience to kill Trump or to try to kill Trump. I'm not making the allegation, which would be completely unfounded, that Tucker is involved in some kind of plot to kill Trump. I'm not saying any of those things. The only thing I'm suggesting is that Tucker's rant may be somewhat inspired by Tucker recognizing that at this point, the damage that Trump is doing to the right is significant. 2018, 2020, 2022. We'll talk in the next segment. What might this lead to in 2024 if Trump is the nominee? Tucker might realize this guy might be more useful to the movement as a martyr in which all of his supporters can smoothly be transitioned over to supporting whoever we determine is going to be the righteous replacement to Trump.
What a theory. What a theory. This is, this sounds like a movie script or not a fictional story of a fairy tale of some type. I mean, I guess to him it makes sense. When you want to concoct a story that, again, makes sense to you, it's rational to you, it is a logical concept or idea to you, no matter how wrong it may be.
Something to think about. Practically speaking, Trump is not about to be assassinated. It's just not going to happen. That I would bet money on. Could Trump?
Okay, yeah, I just heard him, right? He said he bet money on that. Obviously, he didn't. Well, as far as I'm aware, he didn't. But I am interested to see. Matter of fact, after I do this show, I just may go ahead and go to his channel to see if he's addressed these new revelations.
Trump die in a number of different scenarios? Of course. Is there a likely assassination coming? The answer is no. I run a business, and I know how important.
Well, we see an epic fail there, because Mr. Know It All or Mr. I think I know it all, or at least on this subject, I think I know better than Tucker, that nothing is going to happen nearly a year later. Um, this is why people should be very careful in the things we should say, for better or for worse. Okay, we should be very careful. We should be strategic. We should be use wisdom and tact when we speak and when we think and convey our thoughts, because there are times when there are receipts that you have to go back and pay up on, or you're gonna be held accountable to. Listen, this is not a light thing to make, and I'm certainly not making any lightness or fun of the situation we're in right now. It's people like him and others who kind of are disappointing to me, in the sense that all this intelligence and a lack of some type of rationale. I'm talking about objective rationality, objectivity. That seems to be lacking tremendously in many of the American people's psyche. Okay, I know we're not all going to see eye to eye. I've never professed to be right all the time. I wish I was, but I never profess it. I just wish we could have, instead of just being United States, we could be United Peoples. So let me know what you think in the comments, what you thought of these videos. Most importantly, what you thought about the attempted assassination on President Trump. Pray for him and his family. Be in prayer for this country. Last but not least, be in prayer for the families of those who were deceased today, who were killed as a result of this attempted assassination. I'm praying for the nation. I have another video. It's a short that I did, a much shorter video, where I said we just need to pray. Not just pray, excuse me. Prayer is the first step, and other steps that we need to take is the second. So I pray that all goes well out of this. The great things come out of this tragedy, and almost a near chaotic, even more so chaotic tragedy for the country. And I appreciate you taking out your time of your valuable schedules to join me here. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and set your notifications so you don't miss any content. God bless you. I'll see you next time.